Hello everybody and welcome to the first session, that is overview of operation management. First, let us think about all the items and services used on a daily basis, from the clothes you wear to a phone or a computer you use right now. Or you may consider the service that you get from me. You may not know the process that produces all these goods and services. That leads us what operation. Before proceeding to the main discussion, let me ask you some questions. The first one is, which company comes to your mind when you think about their success? For me, I remember Apple, Samsung, Walmart, Facebook, Google, and so on when I think about their success. And the second question is, why you remind them, why you identified them as successful organizations? What is the reason? It is simple, that because their service and goods are best among other organizations. And the last question is, how can this organization produce best goods and service? How can they make the best goods and service among other organizations? This leads us to what operation management means. Let's define what operation management means. Before defining operation management as a whole, let us see what operation and management separately. Operation means the transformation of a range of inputs to the output. The output may be goods or services, and the input can be entrepreneurship, land, capital, and labor. So converting those inputs to the output, that is goods or services, is what operation means. Or operation means what the company does internally, what the company is doing internally. On the other side, management is a process of combining and converting various resources that I mentioned before into value-added outputs. That means it adds value to the inputs when it converts to the output. As a whole, operation management is the design, operation, and improvement of the systems. What systems? That create and deliver the firm's primary products and services. The system creates and delivers. In short, it is managing the conversion process of input to the output. Alternatively, operation management can be defined as planning, organizing, directing, and controlling the activities of production function. Here, there is some confusion, that is operation management, the difference between operation management and production management. Actually, they are the same with small exceptions, that is, operation management is broadly used in service industries, whereas production management is used for manufacturing industries. We will see the difference between goods and services later. And the other confusion may arise about the difference between operation management and operation research. Operation research, or management science, we can say. Operation management is the design, operation, and improvement of the systems that create and deliver the firm's primary products and service, or it is managing the conversion process of input to the output, whereas operation research deals about the applications of quantitative method for decision making. So there is a huge difference between the two. Now let us see why we study operation management. There are at least 4 reasons why we study operation management. The first one is, it is a career opportunity by itself. As an operation management, We can be hired as operation manager, production manager, purchasing, quality manager, inventory manager, and so on. And the other is it increases the competitive advantage of the company because it deals about managing the conversion process of input to the output. So it increases the effectiveness and the efficiency of that conversion. And the other is core functional area of the firm and also cross-functional applications. Let us see from the figures. In any organizations, there are at least 3 core functions, that is finance, operation, and marketing. Among that, operation is the core functional area of the firm, and it has an interaction with the other firms. For example, in terms of getting capital or in terms of getting budget, it interacts with finance, and the products and services produced by the operation can also fund the finance, with the marketing takes the products and services to the market, and it identifies the demands of the product, and it also creates the demand of the product and services in the market, and it informs about the demand to the operations. It informs about the demands of the consumer to the operation function. This is all about the interaction between those functions. Now let us see the difference between goods and services. First, goods are physical items. They are physical items that can be seen, that can be touched. For example, a laptop that I am using, a mobile, or a remote control, or some physical items can be goods. The parts, the final product, raw material, automobile, PC, oven, shampoo can be considered as goods, whereas services, activities that, or actions, or activities that provide some combination of time, location, psychological value. For example, air travel may change our location, education may change our psychology, haircut may change our beauty. So these are considered as services. And goods and services are characterized by, for example, goods. In terms of goods, there is low customer contact with the manufacturer of the goods, whereas high customer contact with the producer of the service. You can take an example. I don't have a direct contact with my mobile producer, whereas I have high contact with the cafe, with a coffee shop that I am using frequently. In terms of predictability, goods are highly predictable because there are certain mentioned or certain measurements, subjective measurements, like dimensions, weight, height, and so on. Whereas service, there is low predictability. In terms of productivity, we can produce goods in large amount, like mass production, whereas services low productive because it is labor intensive. Here, the goods are machine intensive. We can use machines or robots to produce goods. In terms of labor content, for goods, low labor content, whereas services needs high labor because it is labor intensive. Here, in terms of goods, we can make automation. We can use automation or machines. In terms of uniformity, high uniformity for goods, low uniformity for services, output, tangible, intangible. Measurement of productivity, easy for goods, but difficult for services because there is no specific measurements for the services. Opportunity to correct problems, high for goods and low for services because the services are consumed once. Whereas the goods, we can, for example, as you remember, in some time, the Toyota company called a lot of cars because of certain defect. So it is possible to correct goods. Inventory, much and little. Much for goods because we can store for latter purpose. We can transport goods and store goods. So it is possible to store, but little chance to store services. Evaluation is there for goods but difficult for service. Patentable, usually it is possible for the goods but it is not usual for services. By the way, organizations can produce both goods and services. Goods and services often occur jointly. There is no absolute producers of goods and absolute producers of services. They produce jointly. They produce both goods and services. If a company produces high percentage of goods, so we can call it as manufacturing. If a company produces high percentage of services, so we can call it as a service manufacturing or a service provider company. So organizations produce high percentage of goods and low percentage of service. We can call it as manufacturing. But every organization has some extent of service and maybe high extent of goods, and the reverse is also true. Here is a production system. By the way, a system is a set of interrelated parts that is interrelated, at least 3 parts, the input, process, and output. And it takes input may be main, materials, machines, information, and capital, and there is a transformation process. In the transformation process, value should be added to the input and converted to the output, that's products or services, and provided to the customers. In this process, there is a control system that takes information from the output and provides to the input. About the control may take about the conditions of inventory, the conditions of the quality or the costs, and it provides to the input in order to make a correction. Along this process, there is value added. That means value added means the difference between the cost of input and the outputs. The cost of the output or the price of the output is clearly higher than that of the input because of the value added, because of the additions of value. Now let us see the scope of operation management. We can see the operation management scope as operation decisions. Operation decisions can be divided into 2, that is design decisions and operation decisions. Under design decisions, the major decisions, that is the strategic one, and the long-term decisions can be conducted, like forecasting the demand, maybe forecasting the price and forecasting other items. Capacity planning, we should know our capacity, we should plan our capacity. And product design, what type of products that we are going to produce. Process design, we have to design the process to produce that specific design. We have also a decision about layout of our organizations, and the locations of our organization should be selected, should be decided by considering the resources and the customers. This is all about the strategic or long-term decisions. And the second one is operation decision. It involves actually the tactical and the operational and control decisions. They are intermediate decisions. It decides about the quality of our products and the service, or production planning, scheduling the detailed activities along with the time, and controlling inventory and project management, job assignments are considered as operation decisions. So the scope of operation management is all about forecasting, capacity planning, product design, process design, layout, locations, quality assurance, production planning, scheduling, controlling inventory, project management, job assignment, and so on. Operation management activities. This is all about the operation management activities. Actually, inputs can be sometimes categorized into two. Those that are categorized under transformed resources. Those resources are by itself, they are transformed materials. They are transformed. Information and customers are transformed resources, and the others are transforming resources. They are facilitator. They are facilities and staffs. They are the facilitator who can transform those transformed resources to the output. Anyway, operation management activities are designing, that means designing, shaping products and services, delivering, that means planning and controlling ongoing operations, develop, improving the operation capability or performance of the operations, and directing, steering, or leading the operation activities. This is all about operation management and provides outputs, that is categorized as goods or services, which is value added for the customers. Here is a historical milestone in production operation management. We can say production operation management or operation management. The first milestone of operation management, by the way, when do operation management started? Operation management started when the mankind tries to manufacture something, tries to convert input to the output. So it is related with the mankind. Anyway, the first milestone of operation management is handcrafting. In the ancient society, the peoples are using their hand to make small materials. So that is handcrafting. For example, the ancient large production, the Aksum, they construct Aksum, Lalibela, Egypt pyramid just using their hand, using small tools. In handcrafting, there is high skill. And the next milestone is Industrial Revolution, which is around 1800. The handcrafting is produced by the factory. And post-Civil War, that means the industries start to boom in USA after the Civil War of USA. And the other is scientific management. In the case of scientific management, they adopted how the machines are doing for doing the activities, using different techniques for increasing the production. Like they used technique of standardization. They produce standardized materials which can be replaceable. And they are using specialization. That means one employee just produce one single item or do one single activities. And the other milestone is human relation and behavioralism, and then operation research, and recently service revolution. Here, the economic share of service revolution right now is increasing than that of the manufacturing. Actually, the manufacturing economic share is declining, whereas the service increases. Scientific management, the known scientist is Frederick Taylor. He adopted the designing of machine to design the jobs. And later, moving assembly is introduced by Henry Ford. He brought, by the way, instead of bringing or instead of bringing items together in order to produce one item, the moving assembly uses a conveyor which takes the items to the pupils. And during the Second World War, mathematical models was introduced, like quantitative techniques are introduced in order to make optimum decision making. And the recent trends are total quality management, e-commerce, just-in-time supply chain management, PPR, ARP are introduced recently in order to make the operation effective and efficient. Now let us see the competitive priorities of operation strategies, operation management strategy with different timelines. Previously, in the ancient time, that is around 1950, the competitive priority is lowering the costs. They compete with costs, organizations compete with costs, and later, during this time, the manufacturers compete with costs, and later they start to compete with quality. And after that, they start to compete with delivery, then flexibility, then service. It may be after sale service. So from that time onwards, from 1950, they are competing with minimizations of cost. Then later, they compete with value maximization. They added value, not only cost minimization, but they are also add value for the goods, And source of competitive advantages, previously the source of competitive advantages, manufacturing based technology. For example, machines, automatic machines like conveyor and other machines, which produce mass production. And recently, okay, this is the last section, that is the challenges in operation management. The first column talks about the challenges of operation management in general, and the second column talks about the challenges of service industry in particular. Let's start with the challenges of operation management. The first one is the global challenge or globalization. Globalization is an opportunity in one side and also a challenge for the other side. For example, it creates competition. Competition by itself is opportunity. It has its own merit and demerits. The market, it creates additional market, creates financing, also strategies. Local strategy, for example, we have local strategy. During globalization, we need to have global strategy as well. Rapid advancement of technology also creates its opportunity and threats. For example, growth of internet creates new industry like e-commerce, online market, and so on. And it has also new challenges, particularly for those traditional organizations. A scarcity of production, scarcity of resources is another challenge for operation management. Social responsibility like environmental and ethical issues are also the challenges of operation management. When we come to service sector challenges, service jobs are often less structured. They are less structured, so that increases the challenge. Customer contact is high, so it also creates challenge. We cannot hide from the customers, so it's challenging. Employee involvement, high employee involvement exists in service industry. Employee turnover is also high. High input variability, and the service performance can be adversely affected by so many factors like attitudes, opinions of the consumers. This is also a challenging. And the other is customers increasingly their expectation of high quality with low cost and quick delivery and after sales service as well. So this is also a challenge for service sector industry. This is all about today's discussion. If you have any question or comment, you are welcome.